Hey guys, in this video I'm going to be reviewing this brand new Hustler Raptor SD 60-inch lawn tractor. Weighing in at 685 pounds, it has a 26 horsepower Kohler engine with the smart choke technology and a blade speed of 18,400 FPM. So like everybody else in the neighborhood, I have 2 acres of land and it's mostly flat, and I wanted a machine that will get the job done fast. I also needed a zero-turn mower to help me get around my 300 trees, and I wanted a machine to last me about 15 to 20 years. So the other mowers I considered were the Big Dog. I like the LED headlights on that, but for the extra few $100 and you get the right color, I didn't think it was worth it, so I decided to go with the sister machine, the Hustler. I also looked at the Husqvarna MZ61. This was a bit higher machine, and the center of gravity is a bit lower on this one right here. The online reviews were good, but for the extra $700, I'd rather this machine here. So let's have a look at a few of the features of this machine. Like I mentioned earlier, it has the smart choke technology. So to start the engine, just simply put it in full throttle. When she starts, you can just leave it at full, or you can pull it back, but there's no separate choke. The frame is obviously pretty heavy duty here. It's all fabricated. The deck is a fabricated welded deck. You can see the weldings in it here. Very, very heavy and borderline commercial. I wouldn't hesitate using this for some commercial applications. The casters in the front here are extremely wide and very heavy duty, thick metal. The transmission is a drive dual hydrostatic Hydro Gear 2800, and the travel speed of the machine is about 12 kilometers per hour, which is 7.5 miles per hour, and from what I understand, you can cut at that speed. The stemp decks that I had in the past, they were much lower to the ground and easier to move around my trees. I can get underneath the skirts of the trees with a stemp deck. So this one here, where it's a bit higher from the ground, might be a bit more challenging to get underneath, but I don't think it'll be too much problems because I'll be cutting away some of the skirts of my trees anyways to help with airflow. On the top of the deck here, I like the slick pulley area. It's covered in plastic. It looks good. It'll help reduce noise, and there's less room to get debris caught up inside and to be resting on top and to be in around all those pulleys. Also, it's less opportunity for me to get my foot or clothing caught into the pulleys. It's covered up quite nicely here. I also like the extremely wide tires on the back here, just massive, and on the front they're obviously quite wide as well. Shouldn't have too much trouble even in wet conditions. My last mower, it would spin quite a bit when I was trying to maneuver, but I don't think there'll be any issues here with this one. You can see how low the seat is to the ground, has a nice low center of gravity. Unlike the Husqvarna MT61, which is a few inches higher, I do have a small slope in the front, and I don't think I'll have any issues when mowing that. So let's have a quick look at some of the differences between the 54-inch and the 60-inch. The price, so the price is about $600 more for the 60-inch. Obviously the 60-inch has a bigger deck, and the 60-inch has the number 60 on it. Also on the 60-inch you get an upgraded 2-piece seat. So you can see there's actually 2 pieces here. It's extremely comfortable. You can definitely spend 2 to 3 hours on there without getting uncomfortable. It also comes with this engine shroud or guard. Obviously it's not installed right now because I got the catcher put on. The catcher has these pieces on the bracket so that you cannot have the guard on while you are using the catcher. Also, the 60-inch has the 26 horsepower engine, while the smaller models have the 25 horsepower. It's only 1 horsepower, but I'll take it. So next we have a quick look at the bagger. I was a bit hesitant on getting the bagger because there was no blower on here. However, the reviews say that there's enough airflow from the high lift blade that's installed. So the blade that came with 3 blades, they removed this one and put the high lift blade on. Let's see if we can have a look. So the high lift blade is more fan shaped to give extra airflow to push the grass up through the chute and then into the hopper in the back. And the hopper is opened simply by popping that off, and then the chute comes out there. There's a divider here, and the grass will fall evenly between the two. There's rubber around the entry point right here so that the top can be opened, and then there's a separator right here for when you're taking this off to be stored. And then again there's bungees right here keeping this on. There's also pieces of a frame put on here to add support for the bagger, and that normally doesn't need to be taken off, but if you want to put your engine shroud back on, you will have to take that off. So when I bought the machine, it obviously came with the user manual for the bagger and for the mower, and I also purchased this Opti4 oil, and the reason for that is it was a bit expensive. However, it doubles your warranty from 3 years to 6 years. So one of the first things that you're going to notice with this mower is all of the warning symbols. So take the time and look in the manual. They're all explained what they all mean. And yes, please make sure that there's a clear understanding of how all that works. Some of them, some good pointers about this one here, for example: don't engage the blades on the mower unless you're at that throttle level, and disengage when you're at the very lowest. I also like this timer feature right here that shows you how many hours the machine has been running. I also really like the feature where you can raise and lower the deck. You can put it into a transport mode, which is very high and is foot controlled. So you push in all the way, pull back on the lever, and then allow it to drop down to whatever your setting is. And then to change your setting, push in on the lever, and then you pull the pin out, and it has a notch in it so that it can just go in a certain way, and then release and drop it back down again. Alright, so let's talk about some of the things I don't like. I've never used it yet, but right off the bat, the bagging system is quite small. The Husqvarna has a much better bagging system with 3 bags, and the bags can hold more grass. There's also no gauge on this machine to give you an indication of how full or empty the bags are. So you have to be checking to see if you're not picking up grass, or stopping and getting out and opening up the bins to see if the bags are full or not. I also don't like the hitch option. Back here there's this large hole, and it's very close to the edge of the frame. I have a lot of tow behind equipment, and I can see that wearing out after a couple of years and possibly snapping through. So that's going to have to be reinforced somehow. I also don't like the fact that I can't use the engine guard while I have the bagging system on. I really like the engine guard. I thought it was a nice feature, but and I'm not going to be using the bagger all the time. So in order for me to put my guard on, I've got to take everything off, including the mounting system for the bagger. I also don't like the cup holder, how there's no rubber around it. If you have a standard drinking bottle, it's going to be moving around and falling over. It's always nice to have that bit of rubber there so that it doesn't slip. When the mower was delivered, the tank is pretty much on empty. Would have been a nice bonus for them to supply some fuel. You can see the fuel level is pretty much down to the bottom, enough for them to get it from the showroom to the house. I also don't like how easy the oil gauge comes out. It just seems to be laid just in place there. There's a little bit of a rubber seal, but it comes off way too easy. I'm afraid it's going to pop off, and then I could end up getting dirt into the system. I also don't like how the control arms hit the armrest. So if you're trying to reverse, you're going to end up hitting the armrest. So you're going to have to raise the armrest to reverse at full speed. Alright, so let's get it started and take it for a spin. So after that quick test, the maneuverability is pretty fantastic. It has a lot of power and very stable and easy to ride. So let's have a look and see how well it cuts. So it cuts pretty good. I was kind of worried that the front tires would flatten the grass and prevent the blades from cutting it, but it seems that wasn't too big of an issue. So let's have a quick look in the back here and see if it picked everything up. Obviously it has. It's about halfway full, and I've done about 0.5% of my yard. So at that rate I'll be changing the bins probably about 700 times. So you're probably wondering how well this machine performs on gas. So I've already filled up the tank twice, and I just went on empty, and 8.2. When I got the machine it had when I got the machine it had 0.2 hours, so you can run 4 hours on one tank of gas. So that concludes this initial look at the Hustler Raptor SD 60-inch lawn tractor. Since filming this video, I have since returned the bagger, as it turned out to be a pretty horrible device. So be sure to check out that video. But don't get me wrong, I am quite happy with the machine, but it does still have some frustrations that I will be sharing soon on this channel.